The false victory. The victory celebrations across Earth's colonies were premature. Commander Sarah Chen knew at the moment she stepped onto the bridge of the United Earth ship Defiance, surveying the wreckage of what they thought was the entire Chronic invasion fleet. Something about the debris field felt wrong, like staring at a perfectly arranged funeral pyre rather than the chaotic aftermath of a real battle. Commander, all sectors reporting enemy ships neutralized, Lieutenant Marcus Wong announced, his voice carrying the exhaustion of 3 days of continuous combat. The tactical display showed nothing but green indicators, where once hundreds of red Chronic signatures had threatened humanity's very existence. Sarah nodded, but her instincts screamed danger. 20 years of military service had taught her that victories this clean only happened in simulations. She watched the debris drift across the void, the twisted metal and shattered hulls, telling a story that didn't quite add up. "Run another deep scan of the wreckage," she ordered, ignoring the confused looks from her crew. "I want every piece of debris analyzed." Dr. Elena Volkov, the ship's chief science officer, raised an eyebrow. "Commander, we've already confirmed." "Do it," Sarah cut her off. "Something's not right here." The science team began their work while Sarah paced the bridge. The Chronic had appeared 6 months ago, their ships emerging from a previously unknown wormhole near Neptune. Their technology had been advanced, but not overwhelmingly so. Their tactics aggressive but predictable. And now, after what should have been a desperate struggle for survival, humanity had won too easily. "Commander," Elena's voice carried a note of alarm that made Sarah's blood run cold. "You need to see this." The main screen displayed molecular scans of the debris. Instead of the expected chaos of battle damage, the readings showed precise, calculated destruction patterns. The ships hadn't been destroyed in combat. They'd been methodically dismantled. "These readings indicate controlled detonations," Elena explained, her fingers flying across her console. Every critical system was destroyed in exactly the same way across all ships. This wasn't battle damage. This was self-destruction. Sarah felt her stomach drop. They sacrificed their own fleet. "It gets worse," Marcus added, pulling up tactical data. "I've been analyzing their attack patterns. Every engagement followed the same script. They pushed just hard enough to seem threatening, but never committed their full strength. They were testing us." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Sarah's mind raced through possibilities, each more terrifying than the last. If this wasn't their real fleet, then what was? "There's more," Elena said quietly. "I found something in the debris field, a data core deliberately left intact." The screen changed to show a complex alien data structure. As the universal translator worked to decode it, fragments of text appeared. Phase 1 complete. Assessment successful. Primary force authorization granted. Sarah's hands gripped the command chair. "Get me Admiral Nakamura. Now." Within minutes, the face of Earth Defense Command's highest-ranking officer appeared on screen. Admiral Kenji Nakamura's weathered features showed he hadn't slept in days. "Commander Chen, I hope you have good news," he began, but stopped when he saw her expression. "Admiral, we have a situation," Sarah said, quickly explaining their findings. As she spoke, she watched the color drain from Nakamura's face. "You're saying the entire invasion was a test?" he asked, disbelief warring with growing horror. "Not just a test, sir. A probe. They wanted to measure our capabilities, our response times, our weapon systems, and we showed them everything." The Admiral was silent for a long moment. "How long do we have?" Elena answered from her station. "Based on the data patterns, I'd estimate days, maybe hours. Whatever's coming, it's already on its way." Sarah turned to her crew, seeing the fear in their eyes but also the determination. "All hands, battle stations, cancel all shore leave. I want every ship in the fleet on high alert." As alarms began to sound across the Defiance, Sarah stared at the debris field with new understanding. The Chronic hadn't been defeated. They'd been taking notes, and humanity's real test was about to begin. The next 12 hours were a blur of activity. Every available ship was recalled, every defense platform activated. Earth's colonies went into lockdown. But even as humanity prepared, Sarah knew it might not be enough. "Commander," Marcus called out, his voice tight with tension. "Long-range sensors are picking up gravitational distortions, multiple wormholes forming beyond the Kuiper belt." Sarah watched as the tactical display updated. One signature became 10, then 50, then hundreds. The numbers kept climbing until the computer simply displayed KUNTEXCEDED. "My God," Alina whispered. "The energy readings. Each of those ships is 10 times larger than anything in the first wave." The main screen switched to visual sensors, showing the first Kronak dreadnoughts emerging from their wormholes. These weren't the sleek, manageable vessels they'd fought before. These were massive, city-sized behemoths bristling with weapons humanity couldn't even identify. "Admiral Nakamura is requesting an emergency conference," the communications officer reported. "Put him through," Sarah ordered, knowing this conversation would determine humanity's fate. The admiral's face appeared, grim but resolute. "Commander Chen, your discovery may have just saved the human race. We have a chance now, however slim." "What are your orders, sir?" "We can't win a conventional war. The Kronak showed us that. But humans don't fight conventionally when our backs are against the wall. I'm authorizing Protocol Omega." Sarah's breath caught. Protocol Omega was theoretical, a last resort plan so dangerous it had never been seriously considered. Until now. "Are you sure, Admiral? Once we start down this path, we don't have a choice, Commander. The Kronak think they've measured us, cataloged our capabilities. They're about to learn that humans have one trait no amount of testing can reveal: our ability to do the impossible when everything is on the line." As the connection ended, Sarah turned to her crew. "You all know what Protocol Omega means. Anyone who wants to transfer to a civilian ship, now's your chance." No one moved. "Then let's show these aliens why you never back humans into a corner." The Defiance turned toward the approaching Armada, its crew ready to demonstrate that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology or its weapons, but its unbreakable spirit and its refusal to accept defeat. The real battle for Earth was about to begin, and the Kronak were about to discover they'd made a terrible mistake in assuming they'd seen all humanity had to offer. The true invasion begins. The Kronak Armada emerged from hyperspace like a plague of locusts, each dreadnought dwarfing anything humanity had ever built. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching as reality itself seemed to tear apart to birth these monsters into their space. "Final count, 512 capital ships," Marcus reported, his voice steady despite the impossible odds. Each one reading power levels that could crack a planet. Sarah nodded, her mind already racing through Protocol Omega's requirements. "Alina, status on the quantum entanglement network." "Online and synchronized across all ships," the science officer confirmed. "But Commander, the energy requirements alone will either save us or kill us," Sarah finished. "But dying on our feet beats living on our knees." The Kronak fleet arranged itself in perfect formation, a display of overwhelming force designed to break humanity's spirit before the first shot was fired. A massive holographic projection appeared in space, visible to every human ship and colony. The Kronak commander was unlike the soldiers they'd faced before, where those had been roughly humanoid. This being was something else entirely, a writhing mass of tentacles and crystalline structures that hurt to look at directly. "Humans." It spoke, its voice bypassing their ears to resonate directly in their minds. "Your preliminary evaluation showed promise. Now begins your final test. Surrender and serve, or resist, and be harvested." Sarah opened a channel to the entire human fleet. "All ships, this is Commander Chen. You've all been briefed on Protocol Omega. On my mark, we show these bastards what happens when you threaten humanity's home." She turned to her tactical officer. Target their lead dreadnought. Not with weapons, with the quantum pulse. Commander, at this range, the feedback cold. Now, Lieutenant. The Defiance shuddered as its experimental quantum generators surged to life. Instead of firing weapons, the ship projected a pulse of pure quantum entanglement, linking its systems directly to the Kronek dreadnought's alien technology. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Kronek ship's lights flickered. It's working, Elena breathed. Their systems are trying to adapt, but they can't comprehend the quantum paradox we're creating. Sarah smiled grimly. That's because they think linearly. They measured our technology, our tactics, our weapons, but they didn't measure our creativity. Across the human fleet, ships began implementing variations of the quantum attack. Some created localized time distortions. Others generated probability fields that made their existence mathematically uncertain. The Kronek, for all their advanced technology, had no defense against weapons that defied the laws of physics. Multiple enemy ships reporting system failures, Marcus announced. They're trying to adapt, but wait, what's that? A smaller Kronek vessel broke formation, heading directly for Earth, its weapons charged with energy levels that could sterilize the planet. They're going for a decapitation strike, Sarah realized. All ships converge on that vessel. But the Defiance was closest, and out of time. Elena, can we do it? Sarah asked quietly. The science officer understood immediately. A full quantum collapse? The ship won't survive. But Earth will. Sarah turned to her crew. It's been an honor. Initiate quantum collapse on my mark. The bridge fell silent. Then, one by one, every crew member straightened and saluted. Mark. The Defiance accelerated toward the Kronek vessel, its quantum generators overloading. Space itself began to warp around the ship as probability fields collapsed. The Kronek weapon fired, but the beam hit something that both existed and didn't exist simultaneously. In that moment of quantum uncertainty, the impossible happened. The Defiance didn't just block the attack, it reflected it through 17 dimensions, striking every Kronek ship simultaneously. The alien fleet's perfect formation dissolved into chaos. Their advanced technology couldn't process what was happening because it violated every law of physics they understood. Ships began to implode, their own power systems turning against them in cascading failures. From Earth, billions watched as the sky lit up with impossible colors. The Defiance had become a quantum anomaly, existing in all possible states at once. In one reality, it was destroyed. In another, it survived. In most, it became something else entirely, a warning etched into the fabric of space-time itself. The Kronek commander's final transmission was one of incomprehension and fear. "What are you?" Admiral Nakamura answered for all humanity. "We are the species you should have left alone." The remaining Kronek ships fled, diving back into their wormholes. But they didn't escape unchanged. The quantum resonance followed them, spreading through their empire like a virus. Wherever they went, they carried the message. Humans are not to be tested. 3 days later, as humanity began to rebuild, a small shuttle approached Earth's orbital defense platform. Inside, impossibly, was Commander Sarah Chen and her entire crew, their bodies partially phased through quantum states, but very much alive. "How?" Admiral Nakamura asked as Sarah stepped onto the station. She smiled, her form flickering slightly between realities. When you break physics hard enough, even death becomes negotiable. The Kronek learned that humans don't just adapt to the impossible. We become it. The Defiance crew became living legends, existing partially outside normal spacetime. They continued to serve as humanity's guardians, a reminder to any species that might threaten Earth. Test humans at your own risk. Years later, as humanity expanded across the stars, alien civilizations would whisper about the species that turned certain death into evolution, that used the laws of physics as suggestions rather than rules. The Kronek Empire never fully recovered from their encounter, their technology forever corrupted by human quantum chaos. And somewhere in the space between realities, the Defiant still sailed, its crew ready to defend humanity against any threat, from any dimension, at any time. Because that's what humans do. They take the impossible and make it their weapon. The Kronek had made one fundamental error in their assessment of humanity. They measured our technology, our strategies, our weapons, but they failed to measure our most dangerous trait, our absolute refusal to accept defeat, even when faced with the impossible. In the end, it wasn't superior firepower or advanced technology that saved humanity. It was our willingness to break the universe itself rather than surrender. The Kronek wanted to test humanity's limits. They found out we don't have any. The warning spread across the galaxy. Never mistake human restraint for weakness, because when pushed to the edge, humans don't just fight back. They rewrite the rules of reality itself. And that's why, throughout the cosmos, one phrase became synonymous with things best left alone: human space.